Hello, guys. I'm hoping you are doing very, very well. You're finally in your exam days. You're finally in that period for which you have been working so hard since so many months. And you are also done with your very first paper. You're done with advanced accounts. I'm hoping that it went really well. I'm hoping it went as well as you wanted it to be. But irrespective, whether it went great, whether it did not go great, it's fine, it's over, it's done, it's dusted. I want you to believe this with me that what's coming is far better than what's gone. If accounts went great, nice. Law will be even better. If accounts did not go great, it's okay. Law will make up for it. We have to believe this, guys, from the core of our hearts. We have to believe that what's coming is far better than what's gone. Are you understanding, everybody? Here, this point onwards, neither am I going to talk to you about advanced accounts, nor are you going to talk to anybody about advanced accounts. You can pack those books, keep them inside. For this evening, the leftover time, the whole of tomorrow, and the next day, there's going to be nothing else in your mind except law. We will not let advanced accounts occupy even one thought in our mind space. This point onwards, is it a done deal? Yes, guys, promise me that you are not going to think about it. Your whole focus, every cell of your being is going to focus on only what's coming next, because trust me when I say this, law is going to be much better than what advanced accounts was. If advanced accounts was good for you, law will be even better. If advanced accounts was not so good for you, law will make up for it. You're understanding? Believe it, cheer up, and decide that the next 1.5 days you are going to give your 200%. Because come on, you guys, you have worked so hard all along. Of course, you don't want to compromise now that you're in the last leg of the journey. Right? So believe that you've worked hard for law. Believe that you've prepared enough for law. Believe that whatever you have learned is all there in your memory. You just have to press one refresh button in these 1.5 days. See, in these 1.5 days, you're not learning anything which you want to stay in your memory for the next 3-4 years. Your objective is whatever you're learning in these 1.5 days, you should be able to remember it till the exam day at least. That's the bare minimum expectation that we're having from ourselves. So, in these 1.5 days, don't recite and see. Don't check your memory. Don't test your memory whether you remember or not. Trust your memory that you remember everything. Just give everything a reading. Just have a quick glance at everything, because it is all there in our memory. We are only refreshing our memory in these 1.5 days. Understanding? Because when you recite and see, you will realize that some things here and there you've forgotten. Unnecessarily you will get demotivated. Unnecessarily you will end up spending too much time on one particular chapter, and other chapters will get compromised. So therefore, these 1.5 days, guys, use them smartly. Listen to this whole strategy, this whole timeline that I've brought for you, a proper time schedule I've made for you all right? So you follow that, and you ensure that you give your 200% in these 1.5 days. In these 1.5 days, I would insist that please focus more on self study and not on last minute revision videos, not on marathon videos. These 1.5 days have to be you and your book. You and your book, that's all. Because if you're going to watch another marathon video, you only listened. You did not do your own revision. Your own revision is still pending now. So do not spend your 1.5 days, spend on marathons and last minute revision videos. Instead, spend these 1.5 days you and your book. That's it. Okay. And when you start studying law, when you start revising law, please believe that you know it all. Know that you have learned everything. It's all there in your subconscious memory, and you just have to revise it once. You just have to read through it once. You just have to glance through it once, and your memory will get refreshed. Alright, guys, you are going to spend these next 1.5 days with 100% confidence and absolutely no fear. You have absolutely nothing to worry. You have absolutely nothing to fear, because it's only an uphill from this point onwards. Things only get better and better this point onwards. Are you understanding, everybody? Yes. So I want you to keep the same positive attitude across the next 1.5 days. Also, just you and your books. All right, give your best that you can. Now, what I've done is I have made a sort of a time schedule for you, assuming that after your advanced accounts exam today, assuming you're able to start at 7 p.m. this evening, and you're able to stay up and study till 12 in the night, and let's say you sleep for 5.5 hours, and you begin studying again tomorrow at 6 a.m. So with this assumption, I have made a schedule. But you might be a night owl or you might be an early bird. Accordingly, you can tweak the schedule according to what works for you. Okay, but I have very carefully planned what exactly should you do when. All right, keeping in mind the importance of the chapters, also keeping in mind some basic smart study techniques. See, today when you are back home from advanced accounts, we will do something very, very simple. We will do something which is very easy, something which is not going to, trouble us too much. The LLP Act. 2 hours we will give the LLP Act. LLP Act, guys, 10 marks we're going to get from here. Not too much to study, and 10 marks is a good deal. These 10 marks have to be our best 10 marks. Understanding? So you will start with LLP Act this evening itself. 2 hours is good enough time to finish off the LLP Act. When you're doing the LLP Act chapter, ensure that you pay a little extra attention to cessation of partnership interest, that concept. Also give a little extra attention to change in particulars of partners. Remember, we have this concept: what if a new partner comes in? What if an existing partner leaves the LLP? What if there is any change in the name and address of the partner? We have to inform the ROC about it. So that concept, and also about the name of the LLP, how the LLP's name should not be identical or similar to the name of another existing company, another existing LLP and registered trademark. So these 3 points do really, really well. And also one more thing I will add to this, the small LLP concept. Okay, so these 4 points are my highlight points under the LLP chapter. So this will get done for you in 2 hours, and then you take a dinner break of 30 minutes. And then let's say you by now you would be sort of tired because you just wrote your first exam also and came and you spent 2 hours finishing LLP Act. So therefore I've kept something very light for you: the basics, holding company, subsidiary company, section 8 companies, 1% company, then the whole incorporation process, MOA, AOA, your doctrines. Finish all of this. It won't take you more than 2.5 hours to finish off these chapters. When you're doing these chapters, ensure you give a little extra attention to holding company, subsidiary company concept. Also give a little extra attention to 1% company, also to listed and unlisted companies, that concept, small companies and section 8 companies. Okay, these 5 do a little extra better. And in the incorporation chapter, do section 10A well. All right, in MOA, AOA, learn about the clauses, the name clause, the situation clause, the alteration of the clauses of the MOA, AOA. Then section 12, your registered office section. Then section 16, what if the central government asks the company to change the name? So all of these would be the highlights under these chapters. Okay, once you're done with this, you can call it a day. You can go to sleep. And when you go to sleep with a sort of a peaceful mind that yes, you are at the right pace and everything will go well. In these 1.5 days, do not say anything negative to yourself. If you were talking to your friend in these 1.5 days, you would only tell your friend positive, reassuring words, guys. That exact same positive words is what you will tell yourself also. Be your own best friend. Don't spoil things for yourself. Say only nice, positive things, because whatever you say, that's what's going to happen. Are you understanding? Then let's say the next morning when you wake up fresh, you're waking up nice and fresh, and you know that you have already completed 10 marks of your question paper. With that positive thought, you start your second day. The second day, you have the whole day in front of you. You will start off with 4 small chapters. These 4 small chapters will cover 20 marks of your question paper: deposits, charges, dividends, and companies incorporated outside India. I have allocated 2 hours for these 4 chapters. Half an hour, half an hour, half an hour, half an hour for each chapter. Guys, these 2 hours, do these 4 chapters really well. It's in the morning. You're nice and fresh. You can do in a real good pace. Once you're done with this, are you noticing you still have the whole day in front of you, but you're already done with 30 marks of your question paper. You've done the LLP Act, which was for 10 marks, and these 4 chapters put together another 20 marks. You're done with 30 marks of your question paper. That itself will give you a nice feel-good factor to take up the rest of the day. All right, so these 4 chapters you finish off early in the morning in the first 2 hours. Probably you may want to stretch for another half an hour, depends. Or probably if you're okay with just 5 hours of sleep, you can start an hour early also, depends on you. But ensure you clock a minimum of 5 hours of sleep at least each of these days. All right. Now, if you look at these chapters, if you ask me for some must-do concepts in deposits, ensure you do the exclusions really well. What are all excluded from deposits? That whole list of exclusions that you have, do those really well. Also, do the tenure of deposits. Generally, 6 months to 36 months. Short-term deposits should be 3 months to 6 months. Do the tenure of the deposits also really well, and also who is an eligible company. Have a look at this also. Just some extremely important points I'm telling you over here. Then when it comes to the charges chapter, ensure you do a section 77 and section 78 really well. Section 77 is registration of charge by the company. Section 78 is registration of the charge by the charge holder. These two sections do a little extra well. Then when it comes to the dividends chapter, in the dividends chapter, the whole chapter is extremely important, especially, what if the company is paying dividend out of accumulated profits? If the company pays dividend out of accumulated profits, there are some conditions which have to be fulfilled, right? Those conditions, have a look at them, and also have a look at the punishments in case the company does not pay dividend on time. Then what are the punishments? Have a look at that as well. And companies incorporated outside India, in this chapter especially, ensure that you at least do those concepts really well, which I have already put into the crucial 100 file. I'm hoping you've already seen it. I've made a special file for the most important 100 concepts of law. I've given two sets. First, most important 50 concepts, and the second most important 50 concepts, total 100 concepts. So out of these 100 concepts, for this chapter especially, do what I've put in the list really well, all right? Especially the definition of foreign company, all the examples relating to foreign companies, then section 379 subsection 2. So do all of that really well. Then, so once you're done with this, by 8 o'clock by 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, you're done with 30 marks of your question paper, and now you start with accounts of companies at 8. You don't need a break. Once you're done with these four, you can straight away start with accounts of companies. Come on, you're nice and fresh. It's early in the morning and you have a lot of energy. You can do it. So 8 to 9:30, 1.5 hours, you will finish off accounts of companies. And in accounts of companies, your category A concept, of course, is CSR and internal audit. CSR and internal audit has to be done really well. 99% you will be getting a question from CSR in your examination. Then after this, you take your breakfast break, 30 minutes, happily, peacefully have your breakfast, because you're already done with around 35 to 38 marks of your question paper. Then you've had your break, and now with a fresh mind, you start off with the FEMA chapter. FEMA, I've given 2 hours over here, 10 to 12, 2 hours. Do this also well, because even from here, we are expecting around 10 to 12 marks from FEMA. All right, guys. So what I've basically done is, in this schedule, I have put all those chapters first where you have less to study but good weightage. All right. I'm making you finish off those chapters first, so that when you look at the question paper, you feel that you will find a lot of things that are very familiar to you. You will feel very comfortable with the question paper, because all these chapters like FEMA, deposits, charges, dividend, see, I know very well. Many faculties generally say that, these chapters are category C chapters. And yes, you might feel that, ma'am, what are you even saying? Why are you asking us to do it early in the morning? But trust me when I say this, you will actually be getting 5 marks from these 4 chapters. Small chapters, simple chapters, and 5 marks per chapter is not at all a bad deal. Okay, so anyways, coming back. So once you're done with your breakfast, you finish FEMA really well. In FEMA, give a little extra importance to residential status discussion, then your current account transactions and your capital account transactions. In capital account transactions, especially the prohibited transactions, do that really well. Then after this, you start your auditors chapter, 12 to 1:30. I've allocated 1.5 hours. If you think, see, by this point, you will be a little tired. Okay, because from morning 6 o'clock, you have been studying non-stop speed, you've been studying. So at this point, you might be a little tired. So in case you feel that, your self-study is not being too effective, only then you can fall back on this 1 hour revision video, which I have uploaded for the auditors chapter on my YouTube channel. But are you understanding? When will you come to this revision video? Only if you feel that ma'am, too tired at this stage, just not able to do on my own. If I am guided, I will do better. Only if you feel your self study is not being too effective because you're a little tired, only then you fall back on this revision video. But otherwise, if it's going at a good pace, then let it go, do as self study only, because nothing better than self study during these 1.5 days. Okay, and I'm telling you once again, no reciting, no saying and seeing, just reading, just glancing. Okay, after this you take your well deserved lunch break, and then you start with share capital. 2 to 4:30, 2.5 hours, solid guys, solid studying continuously, no break. Finish off this chapter also well. Then you take a break of 15 minutes. Then you start the prospectus chapter. I've allocated 2 hours for the prospectus chapter, should be more than sufficient. See, share capital chapter and prospectus chapter, if you want to drag, it will keep getting dragged. Are you understanding? But tell yourself, I have only 2.5 hours to finish this. I have only 2 hours to finish this, and ensure you get done within this much time. Otherwise, guys, they will keep getting too dragged. It will not be worth it. Okay, then once you're done with this, okay, once you're done with share capital and prospectus, now there is so much sort of self contentment. You will feel so content at this stage, because what are you left with? You're only left with GC Act, iOS, and your meetings chapter. Everything else you have completed. It's only 6:45, it's only 7 p.m. You have the whole evening, you have the whole of next day, half day also you are having. You still have half day tomorrow, you still have this evening, and you're left with only 3 chapters. That itself will give you so much contentment. And with that contentment, you will start with GC Act. GC Act, 2 hours more than sufficient. When you're doing GC Act, give a little extra importance to the good faith definition. Okay, also give a little extra importance to service by post. All right, good faith service by post, and also immovable property discussion. All right, and one more thing I'll add, please, document. All right, then if you look at the auditors chapter, if you ask me the most important concept over here, I will say the disqualifications discussion, and also cost audit. Cost audit, because newly inserted concept in our syllabus. Share capital chapter, if you see, bonus issue extremely important, buyback of security is important, do debentures also really well, and also one more point, your initial discussion about equity shares with differential voting rights, do that part also really well. Okay, in prospectus chapter, if you see, do GDR well, because new concept. Also have a good glance at the different types of prospectus, shelf prospectus, red herring prospectus, abridged prospectus and all, and of course misstatement of prospectus. Give this also a good revision. Okay, then you have your iOS. Once you're done with GC Act, you take your dinner break and then start with interpretation of statutes. Interpretation of statutes, give a little extra importance to the rules of interpretation, the primary and the secondary rules. Now, in the interpretation of statutes chapter, I have allocated actually 2 hours. If you're doing self-study, 2 hours should be enough. But I have actually uploaded 3 videos on interpretation of statutes. Put together would be 3 hours. But that is at a nice slow pace. Okay, so what you can do is you can watch these 3 hours video at 1.5 speed and finish them off in around 1.5 to 2 hours. Again, this the reason why I'm asking you to look at the video, there's a reason. The reason is it's the end of the day. It's 9:30 in the night. It's the end of the day. If you think you're tired, then you fall back on the video. But if you're fine, if you're comfortable, you go ahead with self-study. Okay, guys. And then you go to sleep knowing that you have completed everything, and the only thing which is pending is management and administration. Only thing which is pending is meetings chapter. Everything else you have completed. Now listen, next day, early morning, you start with management and administration. Guys, there's a reason why I did not ask you to start with management and administration. Generally, if you look at, the time schedules which are made, the strategies which are made, generally students are advised to start with this chapter. Oh, very important chapter. Oh, very important chapter. Start with this chapter. That's what people generally say. But I always tell students to do management and administration towards the end. And trust me, guys, this strategy I have been asking students to follow since 2018. And trust me when I say this strategy has never ever failed us. Because yes, management and administration is important. But tell me, is your whole question paper going to be just management and administration? No. What happens is when you start studying with this chapter, you end up spending too much time and energy on this chapter, because of which all the other chapters get pushed, all the other chapters get compromised. That is why I always advise students to do the opposite. I tell them to do management and administration right towards the end only. You're done with everything else. Now you give yourself 3 hours. In these 3 hours, finish management and administration. For management and administration, I think around 1.5 years back, I had put up a revision video. It's around 2.5 hours revision video. You can use this revision video also for your management and administration chapter. If not, if you want to do it on your own, finish it within 3 hours. Do not give yourself more than 3 hours. In this chapter, give a little extra importance to the AGM, EGM discussion, then to proxy, quorum, and notice. And of course, voting. In voting, especially postal ballot voting and e-voting. Okay, once you're done with this, you are done with your entire syllabus. Now you still have a few more hours. It's only 9 o'clock. You finish your breakfast. Once you're done with your breakfast, you're done with all your chapters, you're done with all your revisions. Now you give yourself 1.5 hours to finish the RTPs, MTPs, and whatever questions you've marked and kept. Then in case you have any leftovers, in case any chapter is still pending for you, anything that you think you weren't able to finish, I've allocated 1 hour of buffer time over here for you. Then listen, after you're done with this, okay, you still have 1 hour, 12 to 1. This 12 to 1, this I don't want you to even touch. These last two have to be done as it is. Okay, no changing at all. Whether anything else got completed or not, these two have to be as per plan. At 12 o'clock, 12 to 1, this 1 hour, you will take up just 3 things. A very quick glance: LLP Act, dividend, and just the CSR concept. LLP Act, the reason is you did it day before yesterday, right? You did it this evening. So you might have, forgotten something here and there. So therefore, LLP Act, quick glance, dividend because important, and CSR because mostly it's going to be there in the question paper. So this last 1 hour, you just quickly glance at these 3, and then 1 to 1:20, you give yourself 20 minutes time to go through the cherry on top, which I will be sharing with you all in the Telegram group. I will be sharing with you all a PDF. You can go through the PDF. Basically, it will have a summary of all the limits. It will have a summary of all the punishments, all the case law names, the number of days. So whatever is difficult in law, you will find in this cherry on top. All right. It's like a summary of the number of days, the time limits, the dates, the important dates that you have to remember, the case law names, the punishments that you have to remember, then the limits, the amount limits, all that you will find over here as a summary. So this you can spend your last 20 minutes on doing this. All right, guys. Now the strategy that I've made for you, this 1.5-day strategy, I have made it keeping in mind what I would have done had I been preparing for my own exam. Okay. And I am 100% confident that this strategy will actually work out for you. So you ensure that you go out there, trust this, all right, and do it the best that you can. In case you feel that any particular chapter in the given time it's not happening for you, then you at least finish off the concepts which are given in this list, in this crucial 100 concepts list. For that particular chapter, at least finish off the concepts which are there in this list. Whatever is there in this list should not be kept pending. This you have to be very, very sure about. This list also you will find in my Telegram channel as well. Are you clear? Yes, I am so excited how well your law paper is going to go the day after tomorrow. It's going to go really, really well. So go out there, you guys. The next 1.5 days, all yours, go slay. And in the examination, when you walk into the examination hall, walk in like the boss that you are, walk in like you know it all, understanding, walk in with all the confidence and show off all the knowledge that you have in the answer paper. Okay, be very calm when you're doing the MCQs. Let yourself do the reading only once. One reading should be enough. Stay calm. Ensure that you take some deep breaths. Inhale, exhale. Whenever you get tensed, remind yourself to breathe. Calm down. Keep telling yourself that it is going to go really, really well. And trust me, it will go really well. I'm right here in case you have any doubts. WhatsApp me and get them all clarified. All the best, guys. Thank you.